At 9:04 a.m. on March 13th, 2025. This meeting is being held in person and through MS Teams video conference and is being recorded. The recording will be posted to the internet for public viewing. I will now call roll call. Todd Young, chairperson, present. Christopher Chapman.
Present.
Grant Smith.
Present.
Ron Ferris.
Present.
Dr. Bruce Schwant.
Present.
Jennifer Ferguson. Absent. Okay. Members, when you wish to speak, please state your last name for the record. Board members are asked to not use the chat feature during meetings. The Health Licensing Office asks that individuals attending through MS Teams keep their phones muted and cameras off during the entire meeting or until they're given an opportunity to comment during the public and interested parties' feedback period if indicated on the agenda. Public comment is limited to matters listed on the meeting agenda or topics relevant to what this board has statutory authority to regulate. Public members wishing to speak, please sign in on the roster sheet available in the room or email Josh Page at josh.page@oha.oregon.gov and provide your first and last name. Everyone is asked to use appropriate language, manners, and protocols when conducting board business. I'm not sure who that is. It's okay. I actually have a conflict of interest statement I'd like to read as the chair. I wish to publicly declare for the record I'm a part owner of a college, the American Denturist College, that offers a denturist diploma and bachelor's degree in denturism authorized by the Oregon Office for Degree Authorization. Although no one is required to attend my school, I may have the opportunity to financially benefit from a person who enrolls in our college. I also wish to state for the record that I'm part owner of a testing services company, Universal Testing Services, that offers written and practical examinations that some states, including Oregon, have recognized as a tool for licensure. Although no one is required to take this examination, I may have the opportunity to financially benefit from a person who takes our examinations. Okay.
Very good. Thank you, Chair. Bob Bothwell here for HLO. Whenever we are ready, if we can get an approval of the agenda.
We get a motion to approve the agenda.
This is
Chris.
Ron.
Also
Motion.
We got a motion from Grant. Can I get a second?
Second, Ron.
Any discussion on the agenda? Okay, so call the question. All those in favor of approving the agenda as presented, say aye. We'll start with Chris.
Aye.
Grant.
Aye.
Ron.
Aye.
Bruce.
Aye.
Perfect. Motion carries. I'm assuming I don't vote, right?
You do.
That's what normally I do.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Yay. All right. Motion carries. Agenda is approved. Director's report.
Very well. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Bob Bothwell for HLO. First item on the director's report is the board membership and membership information. Chrissy was going to do this, but Chrissy, you're not here, but you are online. Did you want to do it, or I can cover it for you today, and then we can get together and.
I'm not sure that I sound good
Okay.
enough.
No. Just stay at home and don't breathe through the microphone. I don't want to get it. Okay, I'll do it. So, good morning, everybody. It's Bob Bothwell again. And real quick, the status for the board members is Ronald Ferris is in a second term and it expires February 28, 26 and cannot reappoint. Chris Chapman, also denturist, second term. It expires 9/25 of 22. There's a typo in there, Chrissy, I think. And Chris cannot reappoint. Todd Young is in a first term and it expires 3/14. It expired 3/14 of 24 and can reappoint. And I think, Todd, you got that all taken care of, right?
I do believe that we finally got everything in, I think. So if I didn't check a box right or something, I I went through a whole bunch of stuff, so
Okay.
someone's got to tell me if I'm missing something.
Governor's
Oops.
office confirmed everything's good for you, Todd, so we're good. We missed the deadline to reappoint, but what will happen is that you'll just continue to serve and then you'll be reappointed in the next Senate session.
Okay. Thank you, Chrissy.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Grant Smith, Grant Denturis is in a second term. It expires September 22, 25 and cannot reappoint. Dr. Schwant is in a first term. It expires 10/4 of 26 and he can reappoint. Jennifer Ferguson, public member, is in a first term, which expires February 15 of 27 and Jennifer can reappoint. And we have a public member vacancy. So if anybody knows of anyone who's interested in being on the board, public member or a not a dentist, he's still good with us, but a denturist, let us know.
Okay.
Or let them know to reach out to us. And we'll walk
I
them
do know
through.
that our association has sent out emails to all members requesting that. So I don't know if Megan has heard anything back, but
Okay, very good.
They pointed them in y'all's direction.
Very good.
So,
And if
yeah.
Megan needs any information, you can offer up Chrissy.
Okay.
Okay.
This is Ron.
Yeah, Ron.
On the Chris Chapman typo possibly there, is that because his term was up and he's voluntary to stay on until somebody was appointed, or is that a typo? Yeah.
I am not sure.
Okay.
I'm
comfortable either way. I was just curious if voluntary to stay on until somebody else was appointed was an option that was there. So.
Well, we weren't going to bring
Yeah,
it
this is
up.
Chris. I think it expired quite some time ago. I don't remember now when, but I'm happy to stay on. So
Okay.
to get somebody
Well,
to request.
Thank you. We appreciate it, Chris. Chrissy, did you
That's
get that?
correct. That's
Okay.
correct. He expired in 22.
Oh my goodness.
Yep, sorry, my computer was frozen. But yes, that is the typo. They are serving until replaced.
Okay. And I'll try to remember that when we meet again, because I didn't remember it last time either. All righty, moving on. Annually, board members, there is some training that is required, and then once per term, there is some training required. So I'll just hit that real quick. Overview of boards and commissions is required once per term. So if you re-up, you have to do it again. Information security training foundations is required annually. Preventing discrimination and harassment is required annually. And the overview of Oregon ethics law is optional. However, I'm going to touch base on some of that here in a second. And even though it's optional, based on a rule change, I would recommend attending or taking that when you have a moment. Speaking of that, there's some information I want to share with the board with my report. So I don't know if we've covered this previously. This might be old information, but the HLO, our elite system, allows now for licensees to change mailing and email addresses and phone numbers online through the HLO website. And if they're having problems with that, they can let us know, but it's basically they have to sign in, create an account basically, and they can log in and provide that information and keep it up to date. Nathan, go ahead.
Thank you, boss. This is Nathan Goldberg. Just as a reminder, we're going to put something on the web, but please do not use any symbols. So like if you lived in an apartment, if you could just say APT8, I know that seems weird, but it's a little bit of a restriction in our system. So just wanted to put that out there.
Will it not allow them to do it, or will it allow them to do it and then it just causes an issue?
I don't think it'll allow them to do it at all. It'll give an error message.
Okay.
But it should only like be a problem like with apartments or stuff like that. But yes,
Okay.
that's shouldn't allow them.
Okay. Thanks, Nathan. And Nathan is our IT guy. Ron.
Yeah, this is an interesting question. I know somebody that's involved in a different board, but they had an issue with communication over the last few years. They applied and paid for their license, but the money never got there. So they tried to contact them, and the email that they had returned, or the mailing address returned undeliverable. And so there was no communication for a few years. And then when the person got inspected, it was a hairdressing thing. Then now she's up against the rules of not notification in 3 years. And so she has to go back to school after 50 years. And so I like the idea of open communication and being able to do it online. But if I paid for a license and they sent it to me and it came back undeliverable and business goes on a couple years later, how is that avoidable? Or is that just,
Well, if they haven't updated their information with us, we're not gonna be able to get a hold of them. So it's
Yeah.
incumbent on them, the licensees, to reach out to HLO. If I pay for something and I don't get it within a week, unless it said off TV, 8 to 12 weeks delivered. If I don't get it within a week, I'm going to call and ask questions. I also see the licensing manager has her hand up. Maybe Tina can answer that.
Good morning, everybody. This is Tina Russell. If a license is returned to us due to bad address, we put it in a folder and we put in the note field and we mark bad address on their license. It is up to the individual they can come in over the counter and take care of any inquiries they have. They can email us any day of the week and they can call us. So 3 years later and they're expired, they have to go back to school and retake their exams and come back in and requalify just like everybody else does.
yeah, and that makes sense. And so it's just like calling for a friend kind of thing. But if the address on the check that cleared was the same as the undeliverable address, that might be the issue. So anyway, thanks for clarifying that. It's, I believe that I just need to hear it, so I said it right. Thank you.
Okay. Nope, you're good. All right. So moving on, if everybody's okay. So you'll hear, and you've already heard, that the scripts have changed a little bit. So the Government Ethics Commission enacted rules related to public meetings law back in October. And one of the things that's changed, and they just actually want to make it clear, is I don't have my notes out of order. If we're doing public comment within a board meeting, and the public's allowed to comment, the presiding officer, Todd in this case, can regulate how long people can speak, and during the presentation, the material that the public is speaking about has to be something on the agenda, or it needs to be related to this board and that has statutory authority to regulate. And everybody has to be given the same amount of time. So if we have somebody with public comment, I grab my phone, and typically, Todd, it's about 3 minutes. We give for people to give public comment, and I set a timer and give them 3 minutes. And
So will HLO staff help the chair recognize that if there's someone so that I don't have everyone's picture on the screen or know that, because I mean, as I'm reading through this I guess I could see myself totally blowing by someone, not on purpose, but just on an act of omission. Like, I don't want to put our board or HLO in a position. So who would that be? Is that you, Bob, or is it?
It'll be everybody. It'll be me. It could be Sammy. It could be Josh, who basically runs the computer part of the meeting. He's responsible for getting us online.
Okay.
So yeah, and then if they're being disruptive, we also have the ability to mute them.
Okay.
And you can give us a, you can start saying, hey, you're off topic. I mean, it'll happen when it happens, right? It's hard to describe that somebody on the dentures board meeting is going to talk about something other than dentures, but you never know. um, so, and then
So back to the
when
board training piece
yes,
that you brought up. So if you said it's voluntary, not mandatory, but highly recommended. So
yes.
do we just need to send an email that we want that added to our courses in whatever that platform is that I had a heck of a time getting on? How do we add that to the course list? Because I don't think we can self-enroll those.
So these are hot links. If you go to this information, the board information that I'm reviewing, and I'm looking at slide 10 right now.
Okay.
All the trainings are hot links, so they should take you to where you need to go. And if not, let us know, and we can point you in the right direction. Sometimes these links will break, and they're not working correctly. So we'll, if you let us know, we don't always have an opportunity.
It definitely does take you to Workday. I'm not going to try to get on Workday during this call because of my past amazing ability to function in an online environment. So whoever was helping me, thank you again.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we'll get you what you need.
Thank you.
Not a problem. And with regards to executive session, the executive session, we're pretty good at what we do. Give ourselves some kudos. We run a pretty tight ship when it comes to executive session, and try to keep everybody on topic and not stray during executive session. And it says, my notes here are saying, during executive session, you can't have votes, but while in an executive session, you can't have a vote, but we can come to an informal consensus before we exit out of executive session. So, for example, if we're discussing a case and one of the board members is not quite sure what direction to go, not that we need to have everybody vote yes, but we can come to a consensus, and then we'll know if we will have a majority vote or not when we come out of executive session. But I have yet to see that. People can abstain or people can vote no. But as long as we have a majority vote, whatever we're working on in executive session will pass when it gets into public session. Oh, what else? So I discussed the training requirements. Let's see. We've discussed revising the scripts and what that entails. Going through my notes here. So then the scary part, but like I said, we run a pretty tight ship. It's not too scary, but if a public member or someone from the public decides to file a complaint because the board has violated a public meetings law, they can file a complaint, and it gets filed against all board members, and all board members can be held liable. There have been some cases in recent history, not with HLO, but with other entities, city, local governments that violated public meetings law. They, Oregon government ethics gave them not a civil penalty, but had them do some extra training. And so they chalked it up that way. But the point is they are watching it. And so we want to ensure that we abide by government ethics. And then the complaints and grievances piece of this is HLO had to put on each board website and on our website an avenue for folks to file public meeting complaints or grievances. And if board members are questioned on something like that, they should just direct them to HLO, and we'll get them where they need to be. And the complaints must be filed with HLO prior to going to Government Ethics Commission, and they must be filed within 30 days of the alleged violation, filed with HLO, and then HLO needs to respond within 10 days. And the complaint process, like I said, is posted on our website. And then there's frequently asked questions piece that will be in this letter that I'm reading from. Basically, I know Todd, you probably already got it. And do we have a vice chair? Not yet. No, we don't. So the rest of the board members will get this information after the meeting. Okay. And again, if you know somebody who wants to be on the board, let them know, please. And in your materials that you received and that are on our website, it discusses how to apply for membership. And again, Chrissy's number is all over the place. So if somebody asks you, they can reach out to her.
Thank you,
What else
Bob.
do we got? Not a problem. Sorry, I got a little long-winded on that. I just want to make
No.
sure everybody's well aware.
Dot our I's and cross our T's.
Yes, sir.
So,
Yes, sir. So moving on to some statistics real quick. No license have been issued in Q4, but we've had one license issued in Q3. And this is all in fiscal year 2025. Licenses renewed. It just makes me happy as a clam with seeing that most everybody, all the licensees for this program are renewing online. There's a couple outliers out there, but it's getting better and better. By age and gender, we have 2 folks that identify as male between 18 and 25, and 2 identifying as female between 82 and 89, and then a range between those age groups. So, and it appears to be generally a male dominated profession. Licensing trends were relatively static at the 112, 114 average. And with a couple of the new denturists and temporary licenses. Okay. I don't know how in depth the board needs me to go into the testing statistics,
Well,
but go ahead.
no, this is Ron. We were in the conversation before. I thought the written was going to be a pass or fail. I see that the written and the practical are both a pass or fail. Maybe I missed that at the beginning. That
what are you asking, Ron?
well, it was requested that the written be pass or fail just for convenience with the health division and reporting. Now I see that the practical is also pass and fail. It used to be that you'd take certain parts of the practical, and if you were weak, you could redo it. Now it's just all pass or fail.
Yeah, Tina can speak more to this, and then if you have questions after that, let's go. Go ahead, Tina.
This is Tina. So the written exam can't be pass or fail, because if they fail certain sections of it, they have to go back and take additional hours.
Yeah.
And then, oh, nope, it's the practical. Sorry. The practical, you have to go back and take additional hours.
Yeah.
So just
pass or fail
for
on
a
the
point of
pages.
information, Ron, what UTS reports to the regulatory body is we report a percentage, because it's the same exam that's given for candidates that are attempting to license in Montana or Idaho or Maine or Arizona. So different, and depending on what state you're in, you may have a minimum passing rate of 65 or 80%. So we don't recommend, we just give a percentage. But this is recognized as 70% is the state of Oregon's minimum standard for the written examination and practical, actually. So
Well,
does that make sense?
well, yeah, it does with the current standards for education. It makes sense. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on the tests? If not, I will jump on over to the financial, and the board is just about right where we need you as far as a balance. It would take a good case, and it could put a dent in it, but we had a beginning cash balance of 249,850. Yes, 249,850. Revenues of 17,660, expenditures of 7,840, net operations of 9,820, with any cash balance of 259,670. And these are for fiscal year, which and all the numbers that I talked about for the previous slides are all fiscal years. So that is from July 1 of any particular year till June 30 of the following year. Okay, so Trampus is on vacation, and I will take care of the regulatory report. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail because everybody on the board has been here for a minute and has heard the speech a few times. So for 2025, we have 8 complaints open, 5 regarding the dental and oral pathology endorsement, and 3 unlicensed denture techs.
So it looks like we closed 3 and added 3 is basically where we're at. Is that accurate, Bob? Ish?
Looks like it.
Okay.
Yeah, we're in that neighborhood.
Okay.
So
Perfect.
yeah, I mean, they come in, and Michael's on the line here. I don't know if he has something, if he wants to share. He's typically the investigator that handles all the cases. But we get to him quickly and as quickly as possible and get them closed out.
Bob,
All
I have
right.
a question. How do these
Yes, sir.
complaints get resolved?
Say that
What's
again.
the process? What's the process for resolving the complaints?
Oh, sure. So the complaints come in, and Trampus reviews them, and he decides whether or not it actually belongs to this board or another board, because we get a lot of those. We'll get complaints against dentists that come in, and then we just refer them out or call the complainant and have them contact the Board of Dentistry. And if Trampus decides that it's a complaint with enough merit, we'll assign it out, and Michael will just go through the process. He'll review it, collect whatever documentation, records that he needs to get, interview witnesses and the respondent. And if there is no practice violations, then we'll close it. And if there is a practice violation, I don't think you have any civil penalties in rule. I apologize. It's been so long since I've done the regulatory piece. I don't recall. But anyway, we may bring it to the board and have the board help us decide how bad the violation is and what sort of discipline will need to be issued to the respondent. And that can be anything from training to civil penalty to revocation, suspension, or any mix thereof. And we send out, and that's called a notice of intent. And then after 30 days, we'll send out a final order. And we do post the discipline on our website. It'll be under your board, and it'll be disciplinary actions, and anybody can go in there and see if they know an individual's name and look it up.
So to clarify that, Bruce, I believe, and Michael can confirm this, Bowie can confirm this, is that during that information gathering process where records are gathered, that he determines whether it's a service-based complaint or a practice standards violation. If it's a practice standards violation, he'll generally bring in a subject matter expert to ensure us to review the chart notes, interview notes, and make a recommendation back to him based on that. Correct me if I'm wrong, Michael. Is that still the way that it? Back when I think that's the way it's been for eternity. But is that right?
Yes, yes, that is correct. So after investigations, collect information, get information, anything's violation to standards, probably standard practice or unprofessional conduct, I will send out information to our SME for him or her to review, and with his recommendation, then bring to the managers, that's Tramper Sharks, and he will decide it is this violation or not. If it's not sure, then we bring to the boards. If we have a violation standard,
Okay. Thank you, Michael. Ron, did you have a question?
No, just on that same thought, the pool of investigators, we were really weak on that a while back, and we send out a lot of information. So we got a pretty good pool or group that we can draw from.
Well, we have currently 5 investigators, and
Okay.
we're bringing one more on to fill Trampus's spot. And by the way, Trampus at your last meeting was the interim regulatory manager. Now he's the permanent regulatory manager.
Awesome.
So, to kind of add to this whole topic, Doctor, is the investigators are professional investigators. They're not professionals in any of the professions. So we use subject matter experts or the board whenever we have questions or uncertainties to do the job and make sure it's fair and equitable. Okay. Any other
Bob, how
questions?
many
So it sounds
SHMEs do we
kinda-
have?
Whoops.
How many SHMEs do we have for DT? Do you know?
I don't know off the top of my head. Maybe Michael
Okay.
knows.
how many what? I'm sorry.
Subject matter experts for DT.
I assume that currently we may not have any.
I think
Okay.
that's what Ron was asking about.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes, it was. Thank you.
We may
Okay.
have, the last one is we didn't have a contract signed by previous one, so Trumpets say that he will try to get in touch with the previous one to get the contract to sign. So
yeah. Okay.
So it
Yeah, and
sounds
that's
kind
it.
of like oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead,
Sounds
Doctor.
like the investigators are independent contractors that work with multiple entities. Is that correct?
The subject matter experts are independent contractors.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I meant the investigators. The investigators are independent contractors also, or
No, they're
Or are they
state
just-
employees.
they're state employees, but they work with various boards?
Yes. Yeah. One
Okay.
investigator could investigate 2 or 3 different boards at a time. So we get over 200 cases a year that would get assigned out. And if you do, and go ahead and do the math, divide by 5 or 6, that's a lot. So we're shifting and weaving and bobbing with priorities all day long. So
Got it.
you'll know some of them just seem to take months to get done. Ron.
Yeah, that was my difficulty in understanding it. Back in the day, an investigator was an investigator and they wore the whole hat. And now it being divided into an investigator and a subject matter experts, I can see how there's 2 categories. So we're still weak on the subject matter subject matter experts. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is an entire contract process. We used to, when I started back in 2012 and prior, we used to make an agreement on a napkin over coffee or lunch, and then we would be able to pay them. But today's world, we put them on a contract, and it's good for, well, it was good for 1 year. I think Trappist has been able to convince the contract procurement folks to allow us to go further out, and we do pay them by the hour. So yeah.
Got
So
it.
if anybody knows any subject matter experts, have them reach out to us as well.
Would that be
Got
Chrissy's
it.
phone number also?
It could be Chrissy. She can get him in touch with Trampus.
Krampus, okay, that's a familiar name. Thank you.
Yeah, that explains why, I was wondering how you could employ 5 full-time investigators for $7,800 a year.
Yeah.
True.
Got it.
Yeah. And so, so are you talking back on the finance? Yeah, but that also includes, it's a for this board, it's a relatively small percentage. Every board pays a percentage to OHA for rent, salaries, water, heat, what have you. So yours, they used to years ago have the percentage on here, and for whatever reason, where we get this report from Portland, they decided that it was not that important anymore. So I've been trying to get it back, but they're resistant. I will prevail though, just to let you know. Okay. Legislation. Sammy, you still with us, or did you jump onto another meeting? I know you had one coming up.
Nope, I'm still here. I don't have much to report. The dental lab bill is back, and it appears it's going to go through. There is the exemption for anybody licensed under the denture statute, so don't have to worry about that. And then there's also Senate Bill 800, which Bob can explain this one better. It's basically it's a tax law that would could, if Department of Revenue, I was going to say IRS, sees that a certain profession doesn't have, 95% of their
Correct.
taxes paid in full, then they can basically audit the entire profession and require each license holder to submit to their licensing entity a certificate of, what do you call
Compliance.
it? Compliance, that they are up to date on their taxes. And that could go on
What?
for a long time. Yeah.
They can audit the entire role of licensed
entire
denturist or
profession.
dentist, whatever licensed profession it is.
Yes,
Yep.
everybody.
I'll
How do
send
they
it in an
determine
email.
that 95% is? I got to go read that. Okay.
Great question.
Never mind.
Yeah,
Never
we've
mind.
had
It's in
meetings
your
and we've had the same
materials.
question.
There's a link in your materials to it on page
Okay.
28. Yeah, definitely read that one. And it has had a hearing. Has it had a work session?
I don't recall.
Have other boards been notified? Well, you wouldn't know. I need it. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All the HLO boards have been notified of this.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah.
And at least the OHA ones, like the people that do health facilities, like hospitals, they know about it. And I'm assuming that medical and all of them know about it, but I don't know for sure.
Okay.
But my guess is that they do.
Yeah, and your expression, Todd, was the same one I had when I read it.
Everybody.
and then we had we had a separate meeting with them, with the IRS. Almost said it too, with Department of Revenue, and
yeah.
they made it absolutely clear that it is the entire profession. But they said there shouldn't be any backlogs or anything like that. It's very fluid, and so I was polite and. Okay,
it all sounds like
on.
it's going to be fluid until it's not. So you have to provide. Now you don't have to just provide your taxes to show that you paid your taxes. Now they're going to have to be audited taxes on a yearly basis, which triples the cost of our return. I mean, it's ludicrous. This stuff is over-regulation is absolutely ludicrous. So
and you have to log into their website portal, whatever that means, and you'll have to provide us at HLO, the licensing folks, evidence of compliance.
Mm-hmm.
And that's if you're being, that's if the profession
Which will
is
then
being
be
audited.
available via public records.
The compliance piece, yes, the probably whatever part of,
Yeah.
well, I'm not going to say that. Possibly, not probably, possibly, because there's some information you provide us in licensing that we do that is exempt from public disclosure, right? So, I don't know where that's going to land, because we don't know.
Okay.
But we'll have it
Perfect.
figured out before it gets implemented. But yeah, I think
Okay.
the Department of Revenue is aware that folks are not like super happy about this, and we're very concerned about it. Any potential backlog or causation for licensees to renew late because their website is down and they can't get a certificate.
Mhm.
But anyway,
Mhm.
I don't want to belabor that anymore.
Thank you. Thanks for bringing those to us. Appreciate it, Sandy.
Absolutely.
That's all I got.
Bob.
We do it every year. So, Chair, do you have a script for public and interested parties feedback?
Oh yeah, I got to get to that. Give me just a quick second. Where did that go? All right. At this time, the Board of Denture Technology will hear public and interested parties' feedback. Public comment is limited to matters listed in the meeting agenda or topics relevant to what this board has statutory authority to regulate. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes and will not be allowed if they're disruptive to the board's conduct of its business. If you're called on to comment, HLO staff will request the public member to unmute themselves. The chairperson of the HLO will reserve the right to end a person's comment early and have HLO staff mute the public member if the comment does not pertain to matters listed on the meeting agenda or topics relevant to what this board has statutory authority to regulate. Are there any members of the public who wish to comment? If so, please raise your hand or use the MS Teams raise hand feature and wait to be acknowledged.
Chair,
I
I
don't think-
only see board members and staff. So
Okay.
we don't have any public interested parties feedback. Okay. Next item on the agenda, Chair and board members, is other board business. Is there anything y'all need HLO to do between now and our next meeting?
I have some thoughts that I'd like to talk about, but I didn't know when the right time to do it is. Is this the right
No.
time?
Now's the right time.
You bet, Doctor.
All right, cool. Yeah, I kind of wanted to dive in on a bigger issue. Really, the issue, the overall reason why I wanted to be on this board is mainly because I'm seeing a tidal shift in technology, and I'm seeing that technology already having a tremendous impact on the providing of service, particularly when it comes to manufacturing dentures. And I'm talking specifically here about the whole digital idea of scanning and a digital workflow and the types of dentures that can be made and the methods of making them. And so I've been doing just in the last couple of weeks, I've attended a couple of conferences and learned a lot about what is happening, and it's happening very fast. I had a conversation this week also with a gentleman who is a denturist here in Oregon who is 100% digital. And I found that very interesting. The workflow that he uses is different than the workflow that I would see in that would pan out maybe in mass. I don't know if I've told you folks what I do or what my position is, but I have an office here in Eugene with affordable dentures and implants. And so I walk people all the way through the process. They come in with teeth, they want their teeth out. I take out their teeth, I do the alveo, I do the bone grafting, we make an immediate denture, we make a final denture down the road. We also place implants if that's appropriate. So the whole thing is fascinating to me because there's a lot of people in Oregon that need this, and I'm kind of surprised that there's so many people that are interested. I don't know that many people that do this the way that I do it. I know there are denturists maybe who have oral surgeons that come into their practice. I'm not sure exactly how that relationship works out, but the piece of it that I find really, really fascinating is the impact of technology and how that will affect our ability to deliver the service. So, right now we have a traditional dental lab. And so we make all of our dentures with a 4-step, well, our finals with a 4-step process. Same one that we learned in dental school. That is just, it's changing just so incredibly dramatically. And yet I don't see the need for a traditional dental technician who does a wax up with a person who interfaces directly with the patient as a licensed individual. I don't see that really going away, but I see it being offloaded currently. And those are all questions I want to explore. It's a big topic. I get it. One of the things that I talked with Josh about earlier was that I want to make contact with some of the other people in this group, particularly, Todd. I'd love to chat with you about the criteria,
I've got some
the
strong
things you
feelings
teach.
about it, and Doctor, we still do the same exact process that you do. I know people that are partially digital, fully digital. I've got some problems with some of the materials that are being put in people's mouths that you can't repair, you can't reline, you can't temporary line. I mean, it's in their billing. They're using them on Medicare patients that don't even know what they're getting. So I'm with you. I think that this is, well, and even from an education standpoint and a testing standpoint, I mean, 5 or 7 years down the road, I don't know how many people are going to know how to set teeth and wax. We're teaching it at the college, but as you pointed out, the technology is like, it's 10 freight trains, not one, coming down different tracks. So
yes,
yeah,
I totally agree. And 70 miles an hour, and they're only maybe 10 miles away. It's going to hit pretty quick. Yeah. And so I think I would like to get ahead of that. I really don't want to be, just being in this space and doing this for these people is pretty cool. And I'd hate to see it get fragmented or disrupted or chaos develop. And I can totally see that going down. So anyways, that's why I joined this board.
Well, and even to that, and Ron, we'll get your question in just a second. Even at that point, the materials. Like, I used to be very anti. I mean, you've heard me. I'm somewhat anti-regulatory. Kudos to HLO, but I'm talking about just oppressive or overly oppressive regulation. But at some point, the materials, the stuff that's being shipped, shipped in to the U.S. from various countries, that may not have the same requirements that we have with an FDA that's overseeing these materials that are going to be worn for whether it's short, mid, or long-term periods. It's a concern that I share with you, and I think whether it's a subcommittee that we form or we just go have lunch and I mean, we got to be careful forming a quorum. I think we get too many people in one area, but if we have a committee formed, then that's not an issue, is it, Bob or Sammy?
What would the committee be doing, I guess, is the question.
Well, researching emerging technology that's going to affect the protection of public, which is our charge, right? I mean,
so would it, exactly. I guess I don't know. Is it law changes? Is it rule changes? Like, where?
Too early to say.
Is it already in your law? Like, and I would very much say meeting together and discussing anything that would be board business is not the greatest of ideas, especially with the new public meetings law, and that the Oregon Government Ethics Commission is like watching everybody. And if you're doing any type of deliberation, I mean, even the scent of it, via email or text messaging, they are on top of it. So that's what I would say. And I guess I would need to as the policy person, just need to know, is there law changes that need made? Are there rule changes that need made? Are they just FAQs that need made? Like, where is our destination going?
So,
I have a question. This is Grant Smith.
okay,
If I may.
let's, can we take Ron and then Grant with your question?
Yeah, thank you. This is Ron. Yeah, with respect to the digital, I'm still fully analog, done it that way. The digital is, Todd said it well, it's the materials that are questionable, but the advertising out there and the marketing and the dentist concept, the laboratories nationwide are saying, hey, you got a scanner in there, you're doing fix and you're doing CAD in your office. Let's do the dentures the same way. Just scan them out, send us that information, and we'll make you a base plate. And they're making the dentures, which is bringing a lot of the general practitioners back into the removable because they don't have to do any hands-on. You can do it in one appointment. And the materials scare me the most. Gathering the information, us old dinosaurs say that's mechanically impossible, but we do it anyway every day. So I understand your concern about it moving too fast, but the digitals I've seen really nice ones, and I've seen some that just I bring back to the lab and show my interns, and I look at them, I go, look at this, where do you think this came from? And so it's patient education also. They come into my office and say, well, they say they only do it digital and they don't want that. And so I'd like to be in the meeting to find out how do we let the public be aware of the options of
Okay.
fast doesn't last.
Okay. Grant.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing it up.
My thought is that this would probably be an association issue, that maybe committees would be formed with the respective associations that could look into things that, like dentures that are manufactured and mailed into the state, or other things that are happening. It seems to me that we could avoid some trouble if we were to approach this with our association, which can make recommendations to the board.
Grant, this is Ron. As you well know, 90% of the association education, continuing education, is digital. And that's
well,
out
that being true, I think that really to look at, I think that just a committee on the association is really where we would probably approach this.
Okay. Thank you, Grant. Go ahead, Bob.
Thank you.
Bob,
This is
Bob, and then Dr. Schwann. Yeah, go ahead, Bob.
So I'm glad to hear Grant say that maybe it's an association issue. That might be a place to start with the association, where Todd can have the conversation. And I wouldn't highly recommend maybe Bruce attending, but maybe the dental association, and then maybe things can get put together to help figure this out on both sides, dental and denturist. And I just had a question. It's personal. When you're talking about technology, are we talking about like 3D printers, that type of technology?
Partly, but you're also talking about mills and the pucks that are being milled, and the composition of those pucks, where they come from, the actual
Gotcha.
source materials in that. And so my concern with to your point, Grant, is with the records, this oversight on open meetings and public meetings, and that is that if we don't do it in an environment where we've got people that know how to conduct public meetings, then we may run afoul of those potentially in the association, in particular the Denturist Association, if we're discussing it, because this Denturist board, we get 3 or 4 of us in the room chatting, or from now what I've heard, two people talking about it. Like I feel like now I've been told by Sammy I can't go to lunch with Dr. Schwann and talk about his concerns and my concerns. So without it being a public meeting, because we're serving on the same board. Is that what I'm hearing you say, Sammy?
No, she's not at her desk.
Okay. Oh, she had to go to a new meeting. Okay.
Yeah. What she's trying to say is you just want to be careful. You know what I mean? 2 is not a
No.
quorum. However, but so anybody can make an allegation. So
Right. I guess I don't know what
Well,
you mean though. And that, how do you be careful in this situation? It sounds like I feel like I'm being spied on.
well,
this is
yeah.
Grant. I think that we have a big enough association that we wouldn't have to pick people from the board to be on it, from this board. You could have a committee of people that are not on this board who are looking at our concerns and making recommendations.
Yeah, maybe a culmination of folks not on the board and the dentist and denturist getting
The
together.
sad reality is the people on this board are the people that actually do things both at this state level and the association level. And so
Yeah.
it would be where a committee goes to die, in my opinion.
And then
But
also
Ron.
this board is the group that makes the rules. The dental association isn't the licensing entity. So the licensing to me is where the rubber is going to really meet the road. The dentist, the association, the denturist licensing.
Okay.
well,
because
it's protecting the public, and I think that's the position that doctor's coming from as well. Is we're looking. I mean, we're supposed to be protecting the public through regulatory compliance, minimum competencies, practice standards, and that. And if we see something coming that it's not even coming, it's already here. We're already seeing it in our offices. When you go to like literally fix a denture and you don't realize it at the time, or one of the staff doesn't realize at the time, they take it in and you go back there and you start to grind on it. Oh, wait a minute, this grind's different. Oh crap. We can't get a tooth to stick in this thing. Now we just ground on someone's denture and we just bought ourselves a denture that we're rebuilding that was garbage to begin with, that shouldn't have been in that patient's mouth. So
gotcha.
I saw one of those this last week. So I guess my point is, it's sounding like we're not even allowed to talk about it, and we're held in a little bubble here, and we just got to wait until things crash and burn. That just seems crazy to me. I mean, maybe we can discuss it in a public forum here and set aside time. But we got to dig into the weeds on this, because that's where it's going to be happening. It's all in the weeds. And the workflow. I appreciate the materials, but the workflow is changing. The setting of the occlusal plane is no longer happening by the person who's looking at the patient. It's happening 1,000 miles away in Brazil by an unlicensed person, and they send it back to the doctor or to the denturist, and then that person has this thing they just paid for, and it took a week to get here, and the patient now has to reappoint, come back in for another, and maybe they're driving 100 miles for this visit, and the occlusal plane is off. Well, okay, now what? How do you deal with that digitally? The way I deal with it with a dental lab, even if it's not my lab here in the office, which is wonderful, the way we deal with it is I say, okay, I'll take a new bite and we'll have the lab reset it, and I'll see you 2 days from now and we'll get it fixed. You can't do that with the digital workflow. That's the problem. That to me is the crux of the whole issue, is that we're taking things that should be done by the licensed individuals, and we're offloading that in reality to people who know nothing about what we all trained on. And they're, from a practical standpoint, shoving it down the throats of the industry. And I don't think that's a good thing for the patient.
So to follow that, hang on just a second, Ron. So I believe that and I with respect to Grant and where this should go, I feel like that we need to have a committee that's formed of this board of dentists, denturists that can discuss this. We can still put it out to our association for input, but just like when we wrote the test questions for the partials, when that law was enacted back in 2002, we formed a committee there was we had Dr. Sharp on the board at the time, and he and Tad and Sean and I wrote test questions for 3 months. We had multiple meetings, and so maybe this is a working committee that reaches out to the association for input, but that way we can have these meetings that and actually gets, because I mean I could see these meetings lasting an hour and a half. You just in bouncing off what our concerns are to work towards what potentially that we could do to regulate or set in place protections for the public. So can we form a committee like that and not have and invite members, licensed members of this board to participate on it?
We can, I don't know if Sammy's back on or not. We can do community engagement meeting, and we can do it right here at HLO. We've got a big room, and you tell Sammy who you want to be invited. You know, what professionals that you know that need to come to the table. And unless we have a statutory authority, we can't write a rule around it.
We're not even asking to write a rule yet.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
No, I totally get what you're saying. But I heard, changing rules, laws, or whatever. What that ends up looking like if it's a statutory change. The associations may need to bring it to a legislator to carry, because HLO doesn't do that. But I'll talk to Sammy offline and let her know, and she can come back and listen to the recording too, and help us figure out. She's been around quite a while and knows this like the back of her hand. But the thing that comes to mind is community engagement for us, and and just you two having lunch together is not, it's not bad. It's just, if you're talking board business, that's when it starts to get complicated.
Board business, I'm not sure what Doc and I are going to be chatting about. I mean, like, I'm sure we'll find common ground in that, right? But I mean, yes.
What's industry business and what's board business? What's the difference?
Oh.
Because this is an industry issue.
Uh-huh.
And it's not necessarily making rules. I'm just trying to get my arms around the monster, right, and see what is happening before we even talk about what may make the reasonable rules. We're not talking about making rules. We're talking about understanding the shift that will naturally come from moving from a analog environment to a digital environment. I can see the trends already developing. I've got an idea already of how this is going to go, but I don't know if I'm right.
Okay.
So
we need Dr. Swan.
Yeah.
This is Chris. I've been digital for about 2 years now, totally digital, 100% in the clinics, 100% in laboratories, scanning, 3D printing, designing. We have our own in-house designers. We have some outside designers. I see your concerns. We're actually milling all our own products. I think there's going to be enough denturists that we can reach out to in our state. There's not that many of us have gone digital, but it's going this way super fast. I get it. There's denturists in Washington. There's a lot of denturists in Canada. I attend a digital conference every year in Canada, and these Canadian guys love to share insights, knowledge. They've helped us a lot. Where I'm going with that is the denturist body as a whole comes to the table with a lot of expertise and experience. I think that would answer a lot of your questions, answer a lot of concerns on products. For instance, and I won't spend much time, we started out trying to 3D print immediate dentures. We thought that was going to be a really cool way to go. We found out after 6 cases that they were miserable failures. And so I know there are better 3D printing products out there, but anyway, we've ridden this roller coaster, and I totally understand where you're coming from with regards to questions you have with, if bites are off in those. I think those are a lot of things that can be answered. I think that the denturists are really in a position now where they come to the table with a ton of analog experience, many, many, many years. Much of those same concepts, they don't go away when you're dealing with digital. You just have to look at the beast a little bit differently. But again, I think as a whole, I would encourage Dr. Schwann to come to us. We've got an upcoming conference. I think there's going to be a lot of stuff going on there. But I think that
I'm sorry.
I think that
Come to what?
We've got a conference coming up in May. We've got a conference coming up in May, and the conferences now are largely digital. But I think the idea as a board to come up with some kind of a committee to definitely regulate and protect, I think is great. And I think that I think it can be done. I don't know how to get there, but I think that we come to the table with a lot of experience that's out there that can help us.
Can I get his contact info so that I can find out more about this conference, or how would I learn more about that conference?
If you go on the Oregon State Denturist Association website, Oregon State Denturist Association website, it's actually going to be a joint conference with the Oregon Association, the Washington Association, and the Washington Dental Laboratory Association. The first weekend in May, it's going to be in Vancouver, Washington. And it's I believe it's a Friday, Saturday event.
Got it.
Ron.
Yeah, I think, thank you for bringing up the association's input on what the board does. Like I say, back in the day, this old timer always says, we didn't do anything without the association knowing what we were doing first. And that hasn't happened in a really, really long time. I've tried to get committees when we talked about removing college education and get the association involved, and about the pass-fail concept. To the denturists out there, does the association know what's being discussed here? No, they don't. And talking to the members of the association and some that are on the board, they didn't even know, they have no idea what we're doing. And it's kind of disheartening that the association is not more involved in what we do. So in this committee,
Ron, can I just interrupt you and say that there's open positions on the board?
Just a minute. The board members that I talk to and the people that belong there, when I ask about if they knew this was happening, I just got a no by the 100% of people I talk to. And so, no, I appreciate your interrupting, because you're representing the board, but the board don't know they're being represented and how they're being represented. So I think this committee that I bring up that word many, many times, having one, I think is just really, really important. And I think you should move forward on having that and get as many members from the association that we can to put their input in there. I just totally support it, Todd, is what I'm saying. I just want more support. I just feel there hasn't been association support in the movement over the last decade and more. So I stand interrupted, but I'm supporting the support, Todd.
Can we form a committee or no? Bob, is that possible?
Yeah, we can certainly have community engagement.
No, I mean a committee to investigate this issue.
The threat to the public.
Is that within the purview of this committee, within the powers of this board, or is that something that the board cannot form a subcommittee to investigate the development of technology?
I'll have to check into that.
A committee can be formed to do, of board members or of other people.
Other people.
Oh, well, then I would move to form a committee to investigate emerging technologies in the denturist profession.
So I say that it can be done. However, timing and staffing, Bob will have to weigh in on that.
Yeah. So would they? You were on your other meeting, but while you were gone, the discussion came up about, emerging technologies and safety with the product. And Todd has something to say.
Well, we have a motion and we have a second, Bob. So we can have discussion now and input from HLO staff to find out if so at this point, if we have a motion, a second, we're in discussion. I heard from Sammy that we can have it, but it's a question of resources. So if we vote to do this, and this is part of the discussion I'm having right now with this motion, then it's an allocation of resources, of staff resources and notification for public comment or public interaction or whatever. So it
Right.
seems to me that if we take a vote here, it very likely is going to pass that we want to have a committee formed. So then can we just put it in your hands to make it happen? How does that
Committee. So am I understanding a committee formed to discuss emerging technologies and public safety?
Or
In,
community outreach.
I believe that Dr. Schwann could
professional
restate his motion specifically to what the direction and the funnel of what we're discussing here relative to public safety.
Yeah, I would say suppose a committee to investigate the emerging technology in the profession of dentourism and its impact on the profession.
Is there somebody that could, more discussion, is there somebody that could be designated as a subject matter expert for me so I can call and get clarification? Like whomever, Bruce, Todd.
Dr. Schwann.
I recommend the doctor himself.
I'll do it. I think the gentleman that was talking that is fully digital is also an excellent subject matter expert. And I think Todd would be an excellent subject matter expert.
It's important for me to know, like, what's the policy direction we're trying to go.
We don't know yet,
Okay.
Sammy. We're literally investigating potential the threat to the Oregon public with emerging technology, and there's going to be different sides of this. So I think there's going to be vigorous discussion whether it's materials based, whether it's process based, whether it's a source based. It's all of that. So,
Yep.
but it needs to be fleshed out amongst the licensees to figure out what if in fact there is a threat, and then at some point reaching out to interested parties or bodies for input in how and what to potentially implement as far as regulations or statute. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'll just leave it up to Bob.
And Sammy, if you want, I'll do that.
Okay, great.
So is there any further discussion on the motion presented by Dr. Schwann? No further discussion. Call the question. All those in favor? Chris Chapman.
Aye.
Ron Ferris.
Aye.
Grant Smith.
Aye.
Dr. Schwann.
Aye.
Todd Young. Aye. The motion carries. At the pleasure of the staff, with Dr. Schwann being the lead or the conference chair to determine next meeting times, proper notification, all of that. So, okay. Any other further board business?
I would just want to make sure our expectations are clear, that this is definitely a resource thing. And I don't know what your timeline is, but please be aware of that.
Hopefully we would have a conference committee meeting before the next board meeting, which is scheduled 6 months from now, right?
I'm gonna let Bob answer that.
So the next board meeting is September 25. With legislation and everything that comes up after sine die, we've got some huge bills. Sign language is being revamped. Licensed dietitians is being totally revamped. So both analysts,
Dental labs.
then we have
possibly.
dental lab.
And I'm in
Possibly.
current rulemaking. Let's
And
not
Sammy's-
forget what I'm currently doing.
Yeah. So, but we, fortunately, we're fully staffed, and maybe we can make it happen offline. I'll have a discussion with Sammy and other analysts and see what we can come up with to get the appropriate people notified, get the appropriate people in the room. Dr. Schwant, thank you very much. And you just let Sammy give her an idea of who you want and who you need, and we'll do our best to put it together. And it can be either online or here at HLO or hybrid.
Perfect.
Mixture of both, whatever it takes. So
Okay. Thank you.
We will do what we can do.
Thank you very
Absolutely.
Appreciate that, Bob.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Sammy.
Yes,
Any
thank
further
you, Sammy.
open business?
No problem.
Okay. So much for this being the quiet board. Oh, I mean, just joshing.
I love it. All right.
Okay.
Well, with that being said, do we need a motion to adjourn, or can I just adjourn it?
You can adjourn it if
All right.
you don't have to get a motion, but if everybody's done, you can certainly adjourn us.
Everyone done?
Done.
Once, twice. Board of Venture Technology meeting is adjourned at 10:21 a.m. on March 13th, 2025. Thank you all for all
Thank you,
your help.
everybody.
Really appreciate it.